But in general, Goblin Society is broken up on the Isle of Kazan. They're a very technological race, and Goblin Society is broken up between certain factions or cartels, right? There's a number of different trade princes who command essentially private armies and wheel and deal all over the world. So the goblins that we use neutrally in World of Warcraft, on the Zeppelins and different travel routes, Gadgetzan, Ratchet, places like that, they're kind of more of a neutral group, general neutral group. The goblins that you will play as part of the Horde are a specific group from the Isle of Kazan. And oh, is there some flavor there for you guys when you get to see it? So with all of the cataclysms striking the world, let's say that the cataclysm hit Kazan very hard. And these goblins, through the storyline, were kind of driven out and shipwrecked upon the Lost Isles, which is a new player area we developed. It's kind of a system of islands off the coast of, kind of like south of Ajara, but north of Durotar. So it places them very well to meet and befriend the Horde. And yeah, anything you want to say about the Goblin Kick?
Yeah, I mean, again, another super unique experience with the Goblins. You'll play through various story arcs, and we'll actually be incorporating a lot of the Wrathgate-like cinematic stuff that we did in Lich King for both Worgen and Goblins.
Yeah.
Like I said, we're going way over the top on these two races to start with, but their inclusion into the Horde is something you'll uncover on the Lost Isles, and it's not they don't start out as a Horde race. Actually, they start out as a cartel, a Bilgewater cartel, actually, a neutral race on Kazan, and they're forced into it, unfortunately. But you'll find that out today too, hopefully. And you'll figure out how they were jumped into the Horde.
Right. I guess one thing I would say too is that with the Cataclysm and how heavy it is for the nations, of Azeroth, there are in this expansion set some dark days ahead. We thought it got bad in Northrend, right? These expeditions went up to fight the Lich King, and that fight is still in progress, obviously. And right under everybody's noses, this event happens, and it is going to test the Alliance and the Horde. But one of the things about Goblins is that the Horde may need some comic relief coming up here pretty soon, and the Goblins just fit that bill perfectly. So, good vibe. There we go.
That's their mount, by the way. Okay, upheaval. What does that mean, Chris? What does upheaval mean?
Well, Alex, relative to Webster's New International Dictionary, upheaval is, upheaval, yeah. So, what, guys? We got tidal waves. Let's just take a moment. Can you guys see that picture? Let's take a moment. This is one of my favorite Warcraft pictures ever. I love it. It doesn't get any better than that. Thrall and Cairn rescuing Horde babies. So badass. For all the epic weapons, that's who those guys are. Mega. So, upheaval. We talked a little bit, you guys saw some of the screenshots in the trailer of certain of these zones being broken. Tidal waves, tsunamis, terrific, unending storms, volcanic trenches erupting all over the place. There is a state of natural upheaval, but in the midst of all that, there's a lot of new stress within and between the Alliance and the Horde. The campaign against the Lich King has been a taxing one, and that's what Arthas wanted. He lured us up north, and he screwed with our heads the whole time up there. Where many of you in your player experience kind of had to make some choices that, like, wow, is this the right thing? But we were pressed to just the edge of our seats to try and get this fight won, to shatter through to the gates of Icecrown and defeat this bad guy. And in a very real way, while the Lich King will get what's coming to him, it's possible that we've left a little bit of ourselves up there in the snow. That part of us isn't coming home again, right? There's something really interesting about the post-Lich King world that you'll see, And as as you, right, the soldiers of the Horde and the Alliance come home, we find the world is not what it was. So there's a lot of upheaval at any number of levels. And like I said, there are some dark days ahead, but at a fictional level, it's the dark days that make the moments of, absolute heroism that much more meaningful. And at the end of the day, that's what Warcraft's about. It's about heroism. It's about, fellowship, brotherhood, fighting the good fight. So we wanted to ramp up the drama of this expansion set. And I think you guys are going to feel that and feel the vibe of it pretty acutely.
Absolutely. If you've been playing WoW since the beginning, you've probably seen some pretty dramatic changes, especially in the past year or so with Lich King. We started out with a very strong direction. We knew, Horde versus Alliance, and we actually felt on the design team that we lost a little bit of that in Outland. There was a big joining of forces, and we kind of lost that vibe. And going into Lich King, we wanted to make sure that this division, this war, would be refreshed. And the Wrathgate and events like that didn't just happen overnight. We'd been planning these for a very long time. I mean, Horde players know of Garrosh and Nagrand, Sarfong Jr. And Nagrand as well, and all their lines from that time have kind of been working towards this and what Thrall's been doing, and eventually discovering Varian and him coming back. So with the Lich King, we saw this as the ultimate opportunity to put the war back in Warcraft, and I think we've been pretty successful. Going into Cataclysm, though, I think, like, if you look at this shot right here, it's pretty telling. That's actually the front of Orgrimmar, and if you recognize the black iron, it's from somewhere. All right, so that's our segment. Chris, you have anything else you want to add?
Not at the moment.
All right.
All right, so I think we'll go over the new features for the expansion here. We've got quite a bit of new stuff for you guys, a lot of new things to do, a lot of revisits of old things to do even in our cataclysmic revamp of the world. So,
Get those.
Without further ado, we've got our level cap increased to level 85. So some of you might be thinking, whoa, that's kind of different. It's not 10 levels. It had to be 90. Why isn't it 90? So level 85, this is one of the kind of key decisions that we made for Cataclysm, because we want to make sure that we focus our time and energy in the right places. And part of that is in, redoing the level 1 to 60 zone, so people that re-roll new characters and that sort of thing have a lot more new level up content to do than ever before. And in addition, we wanted to make sure that we're able to bring more in-game content than we ever have before. So one of the things that we decided was that for this expansion, the level up increase would probably be right to do the 5-level increase. We also, as you know by now, have the 2 new playable races. The Alliance have the Worgen. Greg Street in the class panel will go over some of the racials. Both of the new races have pretty awesome racials. Worgen have things including Dark Flight, which is kind of like a sprint ability. It's certain to turn many people into saying it's the world of Worgen craft, I'm sure. Rawr. Oh, you want to see that some more? All right. So we've got quite a few classes available to the Worgen. I think everybody will be pretty pleased. The only thing that they won't be able to do right now in our current plan is be paladins or priests, but Greg Street will talk a little bit more about that. And so for the Horde, we got goblins, as we all know. They got some pretty kick-ass racials themselves. They've got a handy rocket belt. And this rocket belt has a couple different pieces of functionality. They're able to use it to rocket themselves forward, sort of like a disengage but forward, and engage, if you will. And they're also able to let loose some rockets out of the rocket belt that can actually let them fly and do a bunch of damage to a target. So should be good times. Oh, there's many other abilities. Greg Street will tell you all about them in the class panel. I'll try not to spoil them all. Here we have a Goblin Rogue, certain to be the enemy of many Alliance players in Battlegrounds. By next BlizzCon, we'll probably hear a lot about how people hate him. And we also have 7 new zones. So in these new zones, these are, of course, in addition to the ones that we're redoing for the redone level up content. These are, new zones that players have never really gone to before. Take a quick look at them here. So up there at the top of column door, we've got Mount Highjaw, and you guys will get to have a chance to see what's been going on there recently. Quite a lot. Also, we have Old Doom. Finally get to reveal that. By God, all this time, the world map was wrong. There isn't a coastline just south of Tannerus. There's a zone. If only anybody had gone there to look. We have, of course, the new starting areas, Lost Isles and Gilneas for the Worgen and the Goblins. We also have the Isle of Kazan, which isn't labeled in there. We have the sunken city of Ashir. That's under the ocean. So we have an entirely new type of zone, which is an underwater zone. And don't worry, we will make sure that it is not annoying to play underwater. And we also have the Twilight Highlands, and that'll be featuring Grim Batol. Good times. Then we also have Deepholm, which is the elemental plane of Earth. And so players are going to be able to go there. That's one of our major new level up zones between level 80 and 85. That's almost like the Dragon Blight of the expansion. And what we have it pointing to right there is the rupture in the world that Deathwing created as he came up through the Eastern Kingdoms. So while it isn't actually conceptually physically connected to the world of Azeroth, that's sort of the entryway that Deathwing made. So that's why we're kind of pointing to it there to give it a little bit of reference.
And just real quick, guys, keep in mind the map is not to scale. It's just so that we can show you all the areas, but things are spatially a little different than that. So, little caveat.
So in addition to the new zones, we've got the Classic World revamp of all the zones. We've got updated quests, art, and items. We learned an awful lot in the course of doing the original World of Warcraft and the Burning Crusade and Lich King. I would say that Alex and his team are more proficient than they ever have been in the past at turning out awesome quests. They're only getting better at it every day. So I think it's going to be a lot more fun to go through the old world again with a new character. And also, we'll get to ditch some of those things like agility spirit boots that we had as quest rewards. Or at least if we don't, there will be hell to pay.
Right.
We've got a guild advancement system, so this is completely new. We have the ability for players to actually level up the guilds that they're in. To gain access to a whole bunch of new perks. We'll go over this feature in more depth in the game systems panel. It may also be labeled as the PvP panel, although on the brochures that's not entirely true. It's actually the game systems panel and covers more new features than just PvP. So with Guild Advancement System, everything the players do is going to be able to contribute to the advancement of their guild. We currently plan to have 20 guild levels, so you'll be able to have anywhere between guild level 1 to level 20. And you'll be able to advance it by doing all the things that you guys normally like to do, like doing daily quests, doing raids, doing battlegrounds, that kind of stuff. all that stuff will contribute to the advancement of the guild. And what you get for it are access